Hi everyone, so I'm a little delayed on both my videos this week for my Mommy Needs a Minute number 12 and my Crate With Me number 12. So because I've had a lot of family stuff on the go and I've been working on the tweaks for that children's book I stated in my other videos, I've decided that I'm going to put my Mommy Needs a Minute and my Crate With Me video together. So what I decided I was going to do for this one is to kind of give people a few ideas to get them and their families outside the house, even though we do currently have a pandemic on the go. So these are things that you can do that are either not going to have you interacting with other people, but you may see people walk by you, or the things you can do with the kids on rainy days, or just things to get you up and out of the house so you're not staring at the four walls all the time. So one of the things I want to bring up is that I'll bring up kind of the rainy day ideas that I have for you. So one of the things that you could do is you could ask the kids to write a letter to one of their favorite aunts or their grandparents or things like that. I have a pen pal video, go back and look. But, it's always great to get the kids to actually write a letter to their, family members, especially if they haven't been seeing them very much. So that's one of the great ways to get the kids kind of still also writing and practicing their writing. But you can also get them to write letters about how their days have been going, and then they can actually send it off to either their grandparents or their aunts or uncles or even friends from school if they had the addresses. And so that's something that they can do on a rainy day. One of the things I've been doing for my kids, well, especially my son, because he's into a lot of this stuff, is that there's kits that they have out right now. They're by Discovery, and they're stem kits. So basically, this one is for growing crystals, and we're actually in the process of still growing them right now. But you can get these at any Walmart, you can get them at Michael's, any places like that. I've also gotten him one where it's a dinosaur dig kit. I've gotten him ones that were, what was the other one? Oh, it was a rock gemstone dig kit. So the other dinosaur one I've gotten for him before is this one here. And I've got him the dinosaur dig kit. This is what it is. Basically, it ends up being a bunch of slime, and it's black slime. Reminds me of black snot. And he basically has to sit there and dig all the little pieces of the dinosaur model out of it to kind of give him the idea of what archaeologists do when they find fossils in tar pits, is what I'm thinking is supposed to symbolize. And there was also another one that him and his sister both did, and that was on digging gemstones out of rock. So what it looked like to me was a charcoal rock, and they got to dig out 11 different like semi-precious stones. So that was something that they've also done on rainy days. Now, as far as getting out of the house, one thing that I will specify is that, hey, you know what? You may not have very many places to go if you don't drive or you don't feel comfortable getting on a bus right now. Two of the things that I figure might be actually helpful to get the kids out of the house and try to give them a little bit of fun is to make a little mini picnic and go sit out in your front yard or your backyard, and you guys can do that. And it's not like it's in a big park or anything like that, but you can still take a blanket out and set it all up, and you guys can have a little play date out in your front yard. Most of the time, if your kids are anything like mine, they'll sit there and they will just play around the picnic place in the front yard or in the backyard, and they'll just kind of occupy themselves. Or another thing you can do is, if the kids are into drawing things and whatever like that, you can give them the option to, say, bring a pencil and a small sketch pad outside, and they can sketch, a bird, or they can sketch a specific plant. Or they can actually pick some really big leaves off plants, non-poisonous, of course. And they can either do one of two things. They could either place it in their book as a memory for a scrapbooking, or they can take it inside, and on one of the rainy days, one of the other things they could do is they could take that leaf and they could paint it. And then you can take that painting and you could put it in a frame. And hey, it could either be turned into a gift or a new art piece. Those are two other things that you could do. Another thing you could do is that if you're aware of your current parks and things like that that are open, what you could actually do is that, say, here in Nova Scotia, I know one that was a big one when everything started opening up for trails and stuff was Shuby Park, like Shuby Walking Trail. There's many different things. There's two different ways that I look at it as a different way that you could get the kids involved. Is down around Shuby Park, they have little plaques all over the entire park that explain about specific parts of that trail. They talk about old structures that was there. They talk about the canal system. They talk about different things like that. You could actually give the kids a scavenger hunt and see how many of these plaques that they find and get them to write down one interesting fact from that plaque during that trail. Or what you could do is that I noticed that in the trail too, if there is, I'm not sure how many, but there's a lot of like little bird houses, or people have made almost like fairy doors or squirrel houses on the trees. And you could actually get the kids to basically keep an eye out and count how many of those that they actually find during the walk and make sure it's not doubles. I want to warn you though, there is a big part of that park that actually happens to be a dog off leash park. And so that makes it difficult too, especially if your children are nervous or you're nervous about other people having their dogs off leash. I would say just stay out of that part of the park. There is part of that park that also has a ball field. So say if, you want to get out there and you want to, just play ball with some of the kids. I don't mean like full-out baseball, but just throw a ball around. I have a 4-year-old, so even just sitting there with her in the field, throwing a ball around or rolling it to her, she's happy as a duck. So that's something else that you could do. You could also, anybody that's really into camping, a lot of camping places still haven't opened up yet. But in regards to camping, if camping is something that you are still craving and in the need to do, one of the things that you could also do is to find a campground that's open, but specifically ask that you're nowhere near anyone else. Now, that may be a little bit more difficult to do because there is that 6 feet distancing 2 meters apart. But I'm not too sure how campgrounds are separating either their RV spots or their camping tent areas. I don't know if that means they're keeping a space in between each people or whatever like that, but there's that too. So usually most campgrounds will have lots of area that you can go walk and explore. Some places have pools, but that'd be up to your own discretion. You could do marshmallows or s'mores that evening around a campfire. There's lots of options there. But on that note, if you don't want to actually go to an actual campground because, again, you don't want to be around people, either because you're immunocompromised or you don't feel comfortable, but if you have a family bubble already started and they have a fairly sized yard and the kids are really wanting to get out there and camp because we are now officially on their summertime, why don't you ask that family bubble if you guys can come put up a tent in their yard, and then that way the kids can enjoy camping, but they're going to be in a safe environment. And then what you can do is to kind of simulate that whole camping thing is in the morning you can get up and go for a walk by a nearby trail. Most places around this city have places where you can walk in trails, and they're usually through the woods and they're paved, so they're not like dirt roads or whatever like that. So, you got that option as well. What else could you possibly do? Another thing is I Spy with shapes or numbers. If you're looking for something that they can do that can be potentially educational as well, is take the kids on a nice long walk through the day on a nice day and get them to bring a little notepad and a piece of paper with them. And as you walk, you're going to see what numbers that they find. So they're going to write down any numbers that they spot or see. And then at the end of the day, when you guys come back, you get them to count how many they found of each of those numbers. And whoever gets, so much of a secret number that you choose, well then that child could get a special prize. And then so you don't have the option of making all the children feel left out. You can say get a little bit of a bigger prize for the one that wins, like, you know, extra few hours on their electronics, or, you know, a little bit of extra dessert or something like that. But then you can make sure that the other kids are involved by getting them just a little something because they did participate as well. So that's the way I look at it, as far as being different options of things that we can actually do. And just a forewarning to make sure your children have sunscreen, are wearing hats and things like that, because if this year is going to be anything like the last few years with the heat waves, it's going to be crazy. So then that way your kids don't get sunburnt or heat stroke. And make sure you guys have bottles of water. Another thing you could do inside is to designate a movie station day. So if, say, the kids are potentially behaving that week, and instead of giving them allowance, you wanted to give them fake movie bucks, they could earn movie bucks, say, every day up until the day you choose, whether that's like a Friday or a Thursday, and then they can collect their movie bucks at the end of the week and be like, okay, I'm going to use my movie bucks, and I'm going to take my movie bucks and I'm going to use them towards licorice, or I'm going to use them towards a bag of popcorn, or I'm going to use them. So basically it kind of also teaches them about money management, as well as also gives them a fun way to create their own kind of movie space, based on a movie day that you guys decide that you're going to have, which I think would be really cool as well. So those are some things that I've come up with that you can either do outside or inside, that you're not necessarily going to be like, you know, skin to skin or right up close to people. They can all be done within that 6 feet social distancing, and give your kids an option to get up and get out of the house, because I know most of us are all tired of staring at four walls. So that's something that, you know, everybody can benefit from. So on that note, I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. And as of Wednesday, everything will get back on track, and the next Mommy Needs a Minute video will happen. And then the next Create With Me on Saturday. And just so if anybody has watched the previous one, I do have the picture a little bit further on the clipboard from the last Create With Me video, but I haven't done much with it since the last time you guys seen it, because as I said, I've been really busy with some family stuff. So that will come in the next Create With Me video, and I will show you what's done on that. Hopefully we'll get a little bit further and it will be inked. And I also have a few big things coming up art-wise, so if you're interested, please leave me a comment and I will let you know what's going on. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye!